is brought to you by Enhanced Property Appearance,
Go get your crib painted, enhanced property, the best in the business, man.
Alpha Roofing,
Oh man, that roof too. I know your roof be leaking when it start raining outside.
and Envision Production Agency.
Got the best pictures, videos, or whatever. He pull up on you in a drone anywhere in the city.
Check them out.
Streets of Success with Lil,
Tony,
Frank,
And Josh.
and Josh. Josh Holi here. We have a special guest. Josh faced adversity, prison, entered entrepreneurship, and a bunch of positive stuff going on. Honored to meet him. Glad to introduce him to the world on our platform. So typically how we start off is, give us a little background of your upbringing, family, people in your life early on, and, when you started to, teeter down the wrong path. So, yeah, introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from, who you are.
Sure. My name's Josh Holi. I'm from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And yeah, when I grew up in Bethlehem, small family, my mom, 2 aunts, my sister, and my grandmother at the time. So basically I was in a house of all women, no father figure in my life, no uncles until later on when I started to grow up a bit. But for the most part, I was a nerd, loved school, loved studying, loved reading. I was like the classic geek into alternative sports like skateboarding and things like that. And that was pretty much, I coasted through childhood. It wasn't anything crazy. And it wasn't until I was like mid-teens, 15, 16, when I started to fall into the street life.
Okay. What do you think influenced you to start going into the street life?
For me, it was basically a fine. I got into some mischief with my friends. We had a rival high school, so we broke like some windows over there at the school. It was harmless. It was at some greenhouse where they were doing like a plant project. And I ended up getting caught on camera, all of us. They caught the license plate. So we got like a $700 fine a piece. And I knew some drug dealers in school, and I was like, damn, I really got to pay this fine. I don't have a job. So I just took the risk and went to them and said, hey, can you guys help me out? Thinking this would be a 1 or 2 time thing. I'd pay the fine. I'd be done.
Wow. So was it like an addiction after that? Like, did you get addicted to it once you started?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. It ended up being my life for the next 6 years.
Wow.
But in the beginning, I just wanted to do it to pay the fine off. I made the money quick, paid the fine off. I was making smaller payments on the fine because I didn't want my mother to know that I had, got the money.
Yeah.
Because then there'd be some sort of explanation. But yeah, I thought, okay, let me do it one more time. Maybe I could just get some new shoes, some new clothes, something like that. And then slowly but surely, I said to myself, okay, I think I could just turn this into a lifestyle. And I was looking at it through the lens of somebody has to do this job. It's probably going to be me.
I was actually not following it through and through when you were saying. I thought you took a loan out from them. You actually started selling drugs.
Yeah, they fronted me like my first ounce of marijuana at that time. So I got a scale from them. They just broke it down to me how to weigh it out and said, okay, put all these 1 gram a piece into these bags, sell the bags for $20.
So it was marijuana is what started.
That's what kicked it off.
And what age was this again?
16.
Okay. So 16 is when you started to get away from school, education, video games. You said you were a nerd. And then you started to go towards this path of, I guess, drugs, violence, crime.
Yeah, but I never really got away from school, so I always kept that piece in check.
Okay.
So after I started making a little money, I didn't have the best relationship with my mother. So when I was 16, I had, maybe like just over $8,000 in a shoebox, and we had got into an argument one night, and I basically took the money and just walked out of the house with the thought of I'm never coming back. And that was true. I went over to one of our, how we perceived it was a bad neighborhood, higher drug activity in that neighborhood. Contacted a friend there. She let me stay with her and her family to finish school, and I was just selling drugs in the evenings, out of school. But I was always getting up, making school every day, still getting good grades, and end up graduating, at 18.
Is your mom still around?
Today?
Alive and all? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think back now, when you think of that, running out, leaving at that age, was that the biggest mistake you made, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I am a firm believer in I had to take this path to get where I am today. Yeah. But at the time, yeah, it was a bad decision, especially because in retrospect, you know, she was a single mother, raising 2 children, myself and my sister. She didn't have a successful career, so that meant working for a normal wage, long hours. Long hours means we're not around each other so much, so the relationship isn't so cultivated. And me just leaving, yeah, I do think that was a big mistake.
At the time, where was your father at in your life?
So, my parents separated around the time I was born. I'm half Hawaiian, so my dad lived. My mom originally went to Hawaii when she graduated high school. That's where she met my father. They got married, had 2 children, and then split. So my dad ended up going to California in San Diego, and my mom flew all the way back to live with my grandmother again in Pennsylvania.
So you were actually born in Hawaii?
No, I was born in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they had split by then. My dad came to Pennsylvania for some time, and then they left.
He normally sleeps for like the first 10 minutes of these episodes, then he wakes up. So
He's good. He's good.
gonna start ready.
He's on a calorie deficit right now. It's understandable.
No. So did you ever end up doing drugs, like since you were around them so much, or?
Not in the beginning. I didn't even drink or even try marijuana until I was 18. It was around that time, you know, I graduated. I started hanging with a different crew of people. In the beginning, my friends were like what we call straight edge. We didn't drink, we didn't smoke. We went to parties, we had fun, but it wasn't anything like that. So I was more focused on making money for those years, and then I, you know, got pulled into the partying.
So what were you doing with this money? So you're hustling to make money, and what's your plan to just hoard money, or what was your what's your out on it? Like how?
Yeah. Like, were you thinking forward about like, okay, I got 8,000, I got 12,000, but when I get to 15,000, I'm gonna buy a car. Like, was there a goal?
No real goal, unfortunately. Like I was making money, and if I needed something, I would buy it. So if I needed to get a car, I would buy one. If I needed to get some jewelry, some clothes, if I wanted to take a trip.
So it was like money was connected to power, you think? Like you felt more powerful because you had more money?
I definitely felt more respected.
Okay.
Especially because as I got into the older ages, I started, you know, fighting more, like becoming violent, and almost like establishing in my head was credibility as
Street
a drug
cred.
dealer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you got this reputation, or you're building this reputation in the streets. Where does it start getting even like a little worse than just like fist fights and just, you know, bagging up grams? Like, does it get to like kilos? Does it get to stabbing? Like on the violence and the drug level?
So the first big incident that I got in it was my first year at 16. One of the people that I used to get product from, he had a team of guys who, you know, hustled for him. So one of those guys got into some problems. We ended up jumping these guys. They were older. They were grown men, you know, in their 30s. And I ended up running into this person at a later time, a couple months later, and he ended up shooting at me. So that happened at like 2:30 in the afternoon on a regular day. It was behind the 7-Eleven, and I knew at that point, like, damn, this is getting real now. And instead of having the right mind to exit, I thought, okay, I need to start carrying a gun.
Right. So this was at 16?
Yeah, that was at 16, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then once when I did move away, crack started becoming more prevalent in the neighborhood that I was staying at. So that's when I started progressing into other drugs, selling crack. And it was like, you know, hand to hand, out on the street type selling. And that's when I started experimenting, selling some cocaine here and there, just grams. And then I started buying ounces, 100 grams of that. I wasn't a person who was moving bricks or anything because I was afraid of that type of heat. I always thought I could make great money off of just selling weed.
Yeah.
So that was like my go-to. I had a strong client base. So I tried to keep quiet and keep low with what I was doing.
Were you like the man? Like, was there a hierarchy were you like the guy in the neighborhood that everyone would go to? Or
Yeah, I mean, my phone was ringing off the hook. I wouldn't say I was like a boss by any means, but I was definitely known for having some of the best stuff. I ended up getting a good connection in New York. So I had a different grade of what everyone else had in the area. So I was selling, you know, jars and stuff like that in ounces, and then eventually pounds. But I didn't really exceed much over 50,000 at a time. Once I would get to 50 grand, I would just start blowing it, and then knowing, I could just re-up and make the money back.
as you're getting deeper into this, are your friends changing, your surroundings, or is it the same guys, same groups, or?
No, it was I started burning bridges, like, and I started burning them on purpose, right? Because some people, you think that they're your friends while you're making money, and then something changes, and those relationships get damaged. So I think I started getting more, really just doing things solo, into around the time I graduated, and that's when I was 18, 19. That's when I started realizing, damn, how long am I going to do this? I probably need to get out of here. So I reached out to my family in California, reconnected with them. I have a brother out there, an older brother, who I didn't talk too much while I was being raised. But he told me, look, if this is all the stuff you're getting into, why don't you come to California? Just come out for a couple months. If you don't like it, you could always go home. But I went out there and I thought, okay, this could be a fresh start. And I ended up moving out there at 19.
Okay, so 19 years old, did you continue the street life out there once you moved with your older brother, or you just like gave it up?
In the beginning, I was doing everything to not be in that life. But you know what they say, like when you really want to change yourself, it has to happen internally before it happens externally.
So like that was all you knew at that age.
Exactly. I went over there to an environment where I'd be set up to not get in trouble, but I brought a troubled mindset. So
Right.
I
You
ended
could
up
find trouble anywhere.
exactly.
Yep.
Like I started going to art school for graphic design. Tried to because I was into art and ended up getting kicked out for fighting, and then was hearing about the beef that was happening on like back home with a lot of my friends. I was only 19, so I couldn't go out in California and really experience and meet people. So I got homesick, and I was only there for maybe 13 months before I came back home.
Art school. You don't hear many people fighting in art school.
Yeah, it was.
Pulling out, sharpening pencils and all for every class.
So I guess so now you're 18, 19. Is that right? So where do you end up getting in a lot of trouble? Like Frank mentioned, Frank's story and Lil's story is they did a few years in jail. You have like a similar path. Is that right?
Yeah. And I can't even say that the biggest incident that I've been in, it actually didn't have to do with a street beef. So it was more like a family dispute.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my sister was with a guy since she was in high school. They had a really long-standing relationship. He was like family to us. That relationship ended up not working out. I found out about them splitting while I was in California, so that we started to develop this hate for each other, at least on my end. And we ended up getting into a confrontation once I came home. So we got in front of each other. We weren't supposed to see each other. It just ended up being this confrontation. Some other people were there. And it ended up in a shooting. It ended up for me shooting him.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Did he die or?
Thank God he didn't. I mean, at the time when it happened, this was Christmas Eve, actually, of 2006. So I went to visit my family, saw my sister was crying, so I went with her somewhere. She was going to go meet up to talk with this girl, and he ended up showing up there. So, yeah, the things escalated. We tried to leave. It didn't work, so I hopped out of the car and started firing. And I hit him twice. I fired 3 shots, hit him twice, but it was nighttime. I didn't know exactly at the moment, where he was hit, who else was hit. So we just jumped in the car, fled the scene, and for the next 13 months, I was on the run for an attempted murder.
So rewind back to like after immediately after you shot him, like how did you feel?
I was
Like,
going to
what
ask that same question.
Like
Yeah.
your state, what was your state at?
Like, were you panicking? What was going through your mind?
Were you
too?
scared? You didn't know if you checked anything like that, right? So
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that wasn't my, first corral. So I had some experience at that time, and I was very aware, even at a young age, like getting involved in it. I was very clear and aware on what I was doing. So, yeah, when I fired, my whole purpose and my whole thought process was, as soon as I fired, I knew there were other guys there, so I was immediately just looking at them to see, who else is armed.
Yeah.
But again, I've said this before, like when you fire at someone, it's not like the movies. Like the first shot can just blow your eardrum out, so you're just ringing, and ringing is disoriented, and then you combine the disorientation with it being dark outside. And people are screaming. So, you know,
It's a lot to take in.
Right. So my whole thing was I fired. I looked at the other people who were there, was looking for them to move, pull, anything. And then I was more concerned of where's my sister, right, and protecting her. And so as soon as I saw there was control of the situation, then you know my next thought was let's get the hell out of here.
Okay.
Did the cops come or?
They did, yeah. I had made it like a mile down the road. I already started taking the gun apart before the first unit passed, and I had ended up telling my sister, make this right here. We went down this alley. We went down the street. I saw a sewage drain on the side of the road, so I immediately got out of the car. I gave her a hug. I said, you're never going to see me again. Took the gun apart, threw it in the sewage drain. She pulled off, and there was 3 units coming down the street. And I'm just standing there on a sidewalk. So in my head, I just thought, there's no way they're going to know it's me. Let me just stay calm. I took my phone out, put it to my ear, and I just started like laughing and smiling, like if I was just joking, standing on the sidewalk, and all 3 of them passed by me. As soon as the units passed by, I just took off running, and I knew someone who was on that street. It's Christmas Eve. I saw their screen door open. They were having a party. So I just popped up like, hey, I just was trying to see how you guys are doing, say happy holidays. And yeah, they let me in, and that's when I called for someone to come pick me up.
Yeah. So at that moment, what was going through your mind that he might have identified you, somebody else might have identified you, like you got to get out of there? Like what else was going through your mind after that?
Yeah, I mean, at that moment, again, I didn't even know if he was alive. Okay. So I went through the classic, criminal thoughts was, okay, I just got into a shooting. I got GSR on me, probably, like gunshot residue. I need to change of clothes. I need to wash up. So it was a couple of the place that I was at. They were a boyfriend and girlfriend, and I knew them both. So when I saw the boyfriend and I gave him a hug, I just whispered to him, like, hey, can I talk to you? So he pulled me aside in the room. He's like, what's going on? And I just told him, look, I can't tell you anything, but I'm in trouble. And I said, I need to use the bathroom, and I need a change of clothes. Can you help me? And I need a garbage bag. And he was like, of course. And he didn't say anything. Just let me use it. Let me use his phone. And that was the last I saw him for 10 plus years.
Wow. Did you ever circle back to him? You said 10 plus years. Did you make it a point to go back and see him one day?
Yeah. Eventually we ran into each other again, and it was obvious. I feel indebted to him big time,
right?
And his girl as well, because she, they let me live with them for a while I was on the run as well.
So you didn't get locked up that night, right? You end up showering, change your clothes, and then what? How's it look after that?
Yeah, my bad. I misquoted there. I did end up seeing them again. I stayed with them for a little bit, months, while I was on the run. Some months later, I linked back up with them. But yeah, so I changed up. My friend picked me up. He already knew we had this problem. So he was kind of expecting that call. And because I was clear, like when I see him, it's going to be a big issue. So he picked me up. I basically hid in his attic for 4 or 5 weeks. We're watching myself on the news every day. He was helping me, tie off loose ends with the people that owed me money. And I just started to come up with a plan, like, how am I going to get out of here? I spoke to a lawyer. And as soon as they told me, because I was ignorant to the law, as soon as they told me attempted homicide carries a 20 to 40-year sentence, I just hung up the phone and I was like, I'm running. Until I have enough money to go ahead and do the time, or I have enough money to pay this guy off to not go to court, I'm not going in.
You had thoughts of trying to bribe him not to come to court?
Yeah, that was my initial plan. Let me get enough money, because I was told if we went to the preliminary hearing and he didn't show, I could walk.
After three times, it's a must be tried, and on the 4th one or something, they don't show up, they throw the case out if the witness don't come. Yep.
I thought the state picks them up, though.
But the state needs some type of tangible evidence. So if there's no video or no clothing with blood or if it's just a statement from somebody, if it holds no weight, because there's no one to present that statement if they're not in court in person.
Got it.
Yeah, it depends, because they're doing something now called a grand jury indictment, where the witness doesn't have to be there. Like, you can just go to court and they just basically go off of the statement, and it was like you versus the Commonwealth.
But they still need evidence, though, to convict you. So if they can't find this witness or this witness isn't cooperating. It's basically like a tactic to hold you so you can end up taking a deal. I think the grand jury is anyway.
So about your story, so now 13 months you're on the run. Doomsday comes, right? You get arrested. You turn yourself in. How's this?
Yeah, I end up leaving about 6 weeks after the crime. I had enough prepared that I could leave. So I had reached out to some people I had in California that they wouldn't expect I would be with, some old connections. Started making my way over there. I took the bus from Southside Bethlehem to, downtown LA. And,
One bus ride?
well, it was like 18 buses.
Yeah.
Because I got a bunch of fake identities, like just fake IDs. And I was booking bus tickets, so I'd book a bus ticket from, Bethlehem to like Dayton, Ohio under might be Jason Castillo. Then I'd drop that ID, take a cab somewhere, get on another bus at like Michael Rivera, from there to Indianapolis and so on and so forth. Because I was afraid of them finding some way to track me. But made it over there. And again, same story. I took the troubled mind with me. So tried to stay out of trouble. I kept finding it. And it got to a point where I had to leave California because I knew, things were happening out there that I couldn't stay around for.
So you're just a multiple state fugitive at this point.
Well, I didn't have charges there, thankfully, but I got into a lot of problems that, if I would have stayed, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
So it wasn't worth the risk for me. I had some more people down in Texas, just outside of Houston. So I went down there, and that's when I couldn't do any crime. I was actually in a neighborhood where it was like, doctors were living and stuff like that. And I was running out of money, running out of plans, and I thought, I can't go east, I can't go west. And that's when I thought, okay, I'm gonna just make my way back home.
Oh, so when you made your way back home, that's when you the cops caught up with you, or like you decided to turn yourself in? Like, how did that go?
So I made my way back to my hometown, and I had some friends who had beat a robbery. They had a robbery case, and the charges got dismissed. But I guess at this, there's some law, even to this day, I don't know if this is true, but DA has a certain amount of time they could refile those charges upon a dismissal. So I was over with these guys. I went to visit them, like, hey, congrats, you beat the case type stuff. And they were arguing over playing like a Madden game. So they had said, oh, let's go to my buddy's house. We'll play Madden against each other. And I was just there along for the ride. I had a gun on me. I had drugs on me at the time. And it turned out the DA had refiled those charges. So the cops came to pick them up. They had body warrants for those guys. So when we pulled up at the friend's house, they just swarmed us. But I was able to get out of the car in time because their focus was,
Those guys.
these guys. So I ran into my friend's house, tried to make it out the back door, but there was cops back there. I went upstairs, again, took the gun apart in the bathroom because I had nowhere to go. Hid it under some towels, took my jacket off. I flushed the drugs, and then the police came in the house. So I knew it was all over. So I just went downstairs like I was just somebody who was in there sleeping. Like I walked down, just rubbing my eyes, and in the beginning they were like, they bought it. They were like, oh, sir, just, come down here. We're looking for these guys and this and that. And there was one cop in the back who used to do drug truancy from a high school. And he recognized me and said, that's Josh Holi. He screamed it, and everyone just put the guns out on me in my face. And
They let everyone else go. They were worried about you
it
now.
was a wrap, yeah.
They weren't worried about that robbery no more. Big fish.
Yeah,
So you got arrested that night?
yeah. And it really felt like, in a way, a weight off of my shoulder, all the running. I was tired. I was definitely exhausted. And it was like pouring rain that night, too. I remember just getting walked in and cuffs were soaked. It was, surreal. But I knew I was going away a long time.
When you sleep, or do you sleep those 13 months? Like, you're always on the run. You're probably always looking over your shoulder. You're like, right? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, paranoia was high. I was, moving around with a bulletproof vest. I had a police scanner I would listen to all the time. I would let it play when I sleep, just in case I heard dispatch, calling my name or saying where I was
A
at.
horrible way to live.
Yeah, it was rough.
Because I was on a run for 7 days, and every minute I'm just thinking about it. I'm looking outside, like, to go to the corner store. It's crazy. It's a horrible way to live.
Yeah, it was hard.
It's a big relief off your shoulder, even if you're not in an ideal place, but you're done running, it's a lot of the heavy stuff's done.
Yeah.
But now your charges come. And what were you charged with when you're in front of you're on the screen or you see a judge?
Yeah, it was arraignment. It was attempted murder, aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, possessing instruments of a crime. And then when I got caught in that house, they ended up finding that gun because
Wow.
they had said, "What room were you in?" And at that moment, I just said every room. I asked, because I knew my friends too. So I was just like, if they find anything else, I'm just taking everything.
Yeah,
I'm already going down.
Yeah,
If
so
I'm
I-
going down, I'm gonna at least help them
Exactly.
out. Yep.
So I said, is your body cam on? He said, yeah. I said, I was in every room of this house, and anything you find in here is mine. So they did what they did. They found the gun. They didn't find the drugs. Obviously, they were down the toilet, and they found a scale. So I ended up getting carrying firearms without a license, receiving stolen property, an F2, and misdemeanor for like drug paraphernalia.
So you're going to court. At this moment, do you decide, like, I want to take a deal? Did the DA offer you a deal, or did you go to trial and fight the case and lose? Like, how did that go?
So the first charges came from when I got caught, the gun case and the scale. I beat that on an illegal search and seizure at the prelim because the body warrant, you can only reasonably search where bodies are, not in between two towels on a shelf. So I end up getting that kicked. And the owner of the firearm, I don't know who he is, but he was getting some sort of surgery, like that he couldn't attend the court. So I ended up getting that dropped. And then it took, 14 months before I got sentencing for the attempt. First deal was 10 to 20. I said no. Second was 7 to 14. My lawyer advised, look, this is your first time ever getting in trouble in your life. Mandatory minimum for this sentence is a 5 to 10. You've never done anything. Maybe we can get this. So I said no to the 7 to 14, and we got the nickel.
So you sat for 14 months in the county while fighting this case. What's going through your mind of, like, you got people telling you you're getting 20 years, people telling you might get probation, I'm sure. What's up with the guys? Anyone in contact with the victim on the streets where he's coming, he's not coming? How was, like, the little experience there for them 14 months?
Yeah, so they put me in maximum security in the county. It's F tier in our county, and I knew a lot of people up there. So actually, one of the victim in my case, his uncle was there for some time. So I was asking him, because he didn't have a personal problem with me with what happened. So he, people were getting word back. Everybody talks. Like, it was clear he was showing up, and I understood that. I didn't.
Now, was he a guy in the streets? Did he have, like, a reputation himself? Like, you think, like, he's gonna play this life, but then come at me and come to court? Or you knew he wasn't in the streets?
I mean, he wasn't active like we were. That's for sure. So I expected, and that's all right.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Now you're in a spot where, as you said a few times, like, you would always find trouble. Now you're in a spot where everyone's looking for trouble in jail, right? The tough guys. Does your mindset change now? Is it like, do you not become that tough guy anymore and try and, like, get into, like, a different mindset?
Yes and no. I mean, I did dial back to my learning phase because I knew I had time. So I was just worried about exercise, educating myself. But again, my friends were there, and I saw opportunities for me to make money. So we were, getting tobacco in there, getting drugs in there, selling it. There wasn't much. I didn't have to fight much in there because I knew everybody. So it was kind of, it didn't help me change, that's for sure, in the county. Once I got upstate, that's when things started changing because, now I'm up there on my own. I don't know anybody. And, the game's obviously different once you get on that side of the wall.
So that's that moment right there when you go away from your friends and you go upstate.
That was the precursor, I would say, yeah. And then just a culmination over time, realizing I'm just in a cycle that is never going to end.
So you did end up taking a deal ultimately. You worked out something with the DA to where
To the nickel.
Guilty plea, 5 to 10 years, mandatory minimum. They tried the aggregated sentencing, but thank God it didn't happen. And
what's that mean, aggregated sentencing?
so it's 5 to 10 with the potential of an aggregation at sentencing, meaning, his mom can come and say something, the DA can come and say
Like
something.
a
and press
victim
for,
impact statement or something.
Yeah, and say, okay, we know you said 5 to 10, but we're doing 7 to 14 or 6 to 12.
Okay.
Wow, that's the first time I heard something like that. I
Yeah.
didn't hear that in Philly before.
If you got in Philly, I think if you got a deal, like that's the deal you sign. You can't, unless there's more charges that get sprung like afterwards.
Yeah.
So you're sentenced to 5 to 10. You're getting ready to go upstate.
Yep.
Camp Hill,
Graterford first,
Graterford,
a
okay.
few months. Camp Hill for a few months. I was on the old side. And then Cole Township as my home jail.
So back to what Tony said. Now upstate is where it starts clicking a little bit. Like I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to behave like this. I don't want to think like this. Was there like a specific moment, a time, altercation, phone call? Person, yeah. Is what
I mean, yeah, I
that you
think
can remember specifically, or was it a couple of things?
I don't think it was like a once and be all moment, but I started noticing a few things, right? One is that I was becoming desensitized to the things that I was seeing, which was internally bothering me when I'd be by myself. You know, it got to the point I was seeing people getting stabbed, and I'm just like, I'm just walking to breakfast. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. But I understand what that does to me internally, because if I would go and get violent and do something to someone, it's not a big deal to start stabbing, or it's not a big deal to, you know, take it to the next level and really try to hurt somebody, because I'm so used to seeing it. That was one of the things. The second was I started to understand like the cycle is just not going to stop. So if I could give an example, like if you're in high school, you take a certain amount of tests to pass the grade, right? If you're a junior, you take tests, you pass them, you become a senior. You don't take junior tests no more senior year. In life, it's the same. So if you can't get through someone calling you a punk or having a disagreement with someone and snapping on them, you're just going to keep failing right there. And it's like, how are you going to get to the next level in life or mature? Or I started looking at it from the other side, like people are not strong, they're weak because they don't have self-control, they don't have accountability, they don't have communication skills. Like those things started to set in for me.
But do you know why though? I think because probably pride and ego outweigh that
Big time.
in jail.
So much ego there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere, not even in jail, just in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's it? There's a book. I think Ego is the Enemy.
I haven't read it, but
I heard it's a
I'm
good
sure
book.
it's a banger. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, ego's rooted in a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
So were you reading and stuff in jail? That also helped you change your mindset?
Yeah. I did a lot of the classics, like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you know, a lot of Malcolm Gladwell. You know, I read the classics, 48 Laws, 33 Strategies,
Yeah,
Art of
man.
Seduction. We
Rich
do
Dad.
all
I think
that.
everybody, well,
You know,
not
the Pale White
everybody,
Horse.
but
Those are a little dark, but
yeah.
it was just the act of getting up early in the morning and reading and put a lot in that time for education, and same with the exercise, you know, and then you're away from alcohol, you're away from the drugs if you choose to be, and you know, you clean up, and by cleaning up, you clean up your thoughts, even though
Some people don't.
yeah, it's a real that's what gave me the confidence though, because I started to learn if I can be positive in this environment where I'm amongst, you know, people that have murdered their children, who have starved their children, who have raped people, who have killed people. If I could stay in control under this level of negativity, the real world should not be an issue.
It's kind of interesting when I listen to you talk. It's almost like something that I'm like zeroing in on with everyone that's been incarcerated at E3 guys. It's almost like what you didn't have before was that word structure. And now even it's in jail, but at least now you have some sort of structure that puts you in a place to be successful, it sounds like.
I would agree, yeah, because structure gives you purpose. And I
Right.
think we search for that, especially as men. You know, we look for things that give us meaning and things that we do. So to be more educated, to understand, like to be physically strong, you know, we want to exude those qualities to feed the ego.
Yeah. So in there was your purpose to get more educated, become successful? Like, I'm just going to try this other path. I just want to be the best version of myself, or is it like a mixture of all those things?
I was afraid personally to look too far ahead, because I heard a lot of people that said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to open this business, I'm going to get into this real estate, and I'm over here like, all right, that's amazing, you know, feeding it, like being encouraging to them, and then I watch them leave, and then I see them 2 months later back in the yard.
Right.
So my thing is, like, I didn't want to learn how to walk before I learned how to crawl. My focus was, let me get educated, let me get in shape, let me get my emotions under control. And then as soon as I was getting out, my first goal was let me beat recidivism. Because recidivism at the time was like
Right.
70%, 75%.
Yeah, I think it still is.
Yeah, 3 out of every 4 were coming back within the first year. So my goal was I got to make it the first year. And then, you know, that percentage dropped. It was only like 5 or 10%. But in the first 3 years, like, you'll be back. So then I went, okay, I got to make it out 3 years.
So you did make your minimum, right? You came home with
Yeah.
your minimum, seen
Yeah.
parole, and how'd that go?
It was, I mean, seeing the board was rough. They really tested
Like, you
me
have
in
to
it.
admit,
Yeah.
you have to,
Yeah.
like, you can't say, oh, because he did that, you can't justify it at all. You have to go in there and say, like, yes, I did this. This was my intentions. Like, you can't try
Take
to
accountability.
full accountability.
I
right?
mean, they pressed me so, like, they really pressed me. Even though I knew they were gonna, it was beyond what I expected. Like,
This
they
is
were
your
really
first
trying
time-
to get me to
This
get
is your
frustrated.
first time, like, admitting to it, like, in front of, like, the people, like, of your case. I mean,
I admitted to it at my sentencing.
okay.
You know, I apologized and everything, but I think
You
the
probably-
genuineness wasn't coming off me then because I still had hate for him. I still was an angry kid.
Yeah.
You
by the-
lost that?
By the time I went to the board, I had forgiven myself. I had forgiven him. I had made peace with all of that. And I was like, look, I'm not going to let this one event like define who I am for the rest of my life. Like, now I'm becoming someone different. I understand we become different people as we grow. So
You just had to show parole that you're a different person.
yeah, and even coming out there, I'm like, damn, I don't know if they saw that.
Yeah.
Because it was a rough conversation.
How do you continue to become that different person? So you get out of jail now, thank God. Do you go back to that same area that you got in trouble in? Do you, like, what's it look like there? Do you you hang with the same people, or do you make all different changes in life?
Well, my first group of friends that I was with, that I did like the mischief with, they never fell into the street life. So I did end up drifting from them when I was doing crime, but we still all had friendship. Even throughout my time in prison, they would come and visit me and things like that. So one of my friends was, he started fighting professionally while I was down. And he was like, I should take you to a boxing gym. I think it'd be a great spot for you to come when you're out on parole. Like, you'll be off the streets. And that was a big thing for me because it was the first time I was around a group of males who were strong. They were mentally strong. They were in shape, but they were all doing the right thing. Nobody wanted to get in trouble. Nobody was staying out late. Everyone was getting up. And that's when I started to see, like, oh man, like, these dudes are getting up at 5 a.m. and running. That's gangster. Not, not like they're trying to take care of their family. Like, I could learn a lot from these guys.
Was there any temptations when you
Yeah.
first came home?
For sure.
Women,
Because
alcohol, crime.
women, not so, like, I was really in a different mindset when I came home. I didn't even like mess with women my first 6 months. And it wasn't that I wasn't attracted to women or anything. It was just like the landscape had changed. Like, dating had changed. Over that 5 years, 6 years, I felt like there wasn't that much self-respect. So I was like turned off by, because I had cultivated a relationship with God while I was down. You know, I was on that walk more so, like on that Christian walk. I still am, but I think I was, after a year, close to a year home, I rekindled like with an old friend, and that ended up becoming my wife. So we were together for almost 9 years, but we divorced 2 years ago.
Okay. So you're in the gym, you're going through you went through the transition and like getting rid of your old mindset. So where do you go from there? Do you start working? Like, how does that go?
Yeah, my stepfather was working at this glass company, tempering glass. So I had like a third shift job. It was, just labor. We were, tempering glass. And then I got a job at this logistics company driving a forklift. And that was kind of like the precursor of me, like, starting to make a move in an actual career. So I stayed with them. I'm still with them to this day. It's 10 years now I've been with them.
Nice.
What is a logistics company for people listening?
Yeah, it's United States Cold Storage. It's a third-party logistics. Basically, it's just we have a bunch of warehouses all over the country. They're giant freezers. We store frozen food, ship, things like that. I was driving a regular forklift in those freezers, picking orders and everything. But that education aspect, I started going to college, And I came up with an idea that could save the company money, and that's what got me noticed by like the corporate side of the job. So I created this presentation. I had like a fake mobile app that I had came up with that I thought would save a ton of money. I was doing time studies while I was working. You know, we have all these paper processes that I thought would be nice to have in an app. And I wasn't a technical guy at the time. So I just Googled, how do I make an app if I don't know how to code? So I found this like service where it's like I'm dragging and dropping features, made a PowerPoint, presented it to my GM, and he was blown away by it, but he wasn't a technical guy either. So he had said, look, I think the idea is great, but I don't know nothing about this. Let me take a picture of it. I'll send it to our corporate headquarters. By the time I got home, the VP of IT had emailed me and said, hey, kid, like I heard you have an idea. We welcome great ideas. Can you come up here on Friday and show us what you have? So I was like, damn, here I'm a convicted felon.
How long were you at the company before you brought this idea to him?
That was about 3 years.
You were there for 3 years already? Still
Yeah.
on a forklift for 3 years?
I was moving around. Like I was moving up in the company there, like, you know, warehouse lead. I was getting into inventory. But I mean, I was still there, you know, in the minus 10 degrees every day.
Yeah, in the trenches.
Yeah.
In the trenches of work.
Is that what it is? Minus 10?
Minus 10 in the freezers, 32 degrees on the dock. Yeah. We were.
Lil was cold as hell last night and it was 60 out. All right, so you present this idea to the, you know, bigger
Corporate? Yeah.
Yeah, they loved it at first. They said it was a great idea, but like after the presentation, they were kind of like, just like, thanks for coming. So I just told them, look, whatever you guys decide to do with this, you know, I had met with a lawyer prior to going up there to get like a patent pending on a generic version of it, just so they couldn't steal it. Because I was like, you know, corporate guys, I'm just a forklift guy. I got a felony. I'm like, they're going to be like, yeah, kid, get out of here. Keep doing what you're doing, and then steal my idea. And that wasn't the case at all. It turned out they were understaffed. We didn't have the budget at the time. And they reached out to me a month and a half later and were like, look, we loved your idea. We can't do nothing with it right now, but we have this opening, quality assurance. Like, you could come up here and test our system. And you're a forklift driver, so you know the pain points of the system because you use it every day. So I said, all right. So I moved up. I moved out of Bethlehem, moved to Voorhees, New Jersey. And I was there. And now, slowly but surely, I started working my way through. They opened up a big project to rewrite the entire system in-house, enterprise warehouse management. So I got on board with that, just helping them do software implementation, which is just like converting the old system to the new system. We going warehouse to warehouse. But I kept having good ideas with design, so then that involved me in the product. And now, today, I'm the product manager of that same system. I make the design calls, the user experience, and the feature design.
Do you have a team of people around you?
Yeah, we have almost 80 people on the project, and I have, like 10. I'm like a team of 10. I have like 9 direct reports. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so-
Congratulations,
Yeah,
man.
congrats.
Yeah, it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
So you did that for 3 years as a forklift driver. Now you're in the corporate part of the company. How does your like life look then, as far as like you're putting a jumper on, going in this freezer, to like where you started stepping up into the company, where anyone listening, you don't have to be an entrepreneur, or you don't have to be a businessman. You can still live a very good life. But how was your life then in comparison to like how does your day look now?
And just one quick one, sorry.
No, you're fine.
The jumper changes too, right? It's not that orange jumper.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
that's good.
Yeah, we went from the all red uniform to the all brown upstate. And then, now we're putting on a suit, thank God.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you put on a suit every day. What? A lot of Zoom calls, traveling, stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of travel. We work with offshore teams. So, we have a team in Ukraine, team in Puerto Rico.
How many locations?
We have 47 locations in U.S., but we deal with consulting companies for software development offshore. So I did go to Ukraine a lot, like 4 or 5 times prior to the war. Now that, obviously a different situation. But we have, it took me all over Europe. We just hired a team in South America. We have a team in Mexico. So, yeah, big opportunities for me to see the world, which, again, having that experience, it opens my scope of thinking. I started looking at the bigger picture. And, now that I'm building a career, now I'm starting to see that light of there's things I could do outside of work, that can give me my freedom back in a way.
Nice.
So what are some of the things that you do outside of work? Like,
outside of work, I started sharing my story a year or so ago, more serious content creation, thinking I could be impactful to people sharing what I have. So I started speaking at colleges, at conferences. I'm building a personal brand now. Just met with one of your friends, Frank, today that you put me onto for, my first investment property. So I'm hoping to get that process going. But for now, it's focusing on, content creation and public speaking.
So
right.
your Instagram, if anyone wants to follow Josh, what's your Instagram again?
November, KNOW_VEMBER.
And that content consists of traveling, running, advice for other people. What's if they dive into your page and your content? What can they find?
Yeah, they're gonna find strong quotes with strong captions about life lessons. There'll be fitness content, lifestyle content, motivational, and travel as well.
And you went to college. You said you snuck that one in there. How was that?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, I started in community college while I was still in the warehouse. The company actually offered some educational reimbursement to a certain amount. So I said, okay, I got to jump on this if I could get a class or two for free. And that's when I started expanding my network, connected with my professors. College was the first place I shared my story. And my professor, who I still am cool with to this day, he was a big proponent, like, the world needs to hear this. Because when I first told it in my speech class, people were crying. And he was really moved by it. So I did a couple years there, got my associates, and then I came into this opportunity for corporate. I was going to Moravian College, which is a local college in Bethlehem. But I had to transfer to online to finish because I had the opportunity to move to Jersey. So I finished online, my bachelor's.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's crazy because people don't think that they can amount to anything because they're stuck in the city or they have a felony and you're just like a prime example. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur or like own a bunch of houses or a bunch of businesses to be successful. I mean, everyone has their own definition of success, but you example of like growth and growth and growth. And like, you're just now buying, how old are you?
38.
38, buying your first, investment property. But, since you came home, it seems like it's been like a stock chart just going up.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to the people I keep around me. Obviously I need that. I'm building discipline and I'm getting around good people, which is critical. But also, like, to have the drive and the understanding that, okay, I'm meant for another level. So even when I do achieve something, I'm grateful. I have gratitude beyond belief. But I also feel like I could do more. Like, I can't stop. That feeling can't leave me now. My confidence builds with each.
What are a
notch.
couple key components you think that go towards your success? Like, if you had to say like 4 or 5 things that contribute.
One would be accountability, no
Okay.
doubt about it. Because if you're not willing to own up to the bullshit you've done, you're gonna be stuck. Because accountability carries in everything, whether it be in your career, whether it be in your finances, the way you manage things, your relationships, the way you are towards other people.
You have to look in the mirror.
Right. Second is the understanding of what the world is, in my opinion, which is we all experience the world in a different lens. So what happens here is true to me because it's the only world that I live in. So I try to understand that when I want to get something done, it's possible because I'm the one that does the creating here in this world. So it's like
It's your world, yeah.
yeah. And I would say the third is to operate in fear, and I don't mean like overcoming fear because me personally, fear is natural. Fear is always going to be there. Doubt's always going to be there, but don't let those things consume you. But realize that they're there and just tell them, look, sit back, watch me work. Like, I'm still going to operate while I'm afraid.
So that's like you're fighting against it. Your
Right.
defense against it is fear.
Yeah, this is probably going to sound crazy, but I often look at the way I'm feeling as a single file line of just figures. Meaning, if I'm afraid of something, fear is now in the front of that line. And maybe my belief is like falling to the middle of the queue. And mentally, I just picture myself telling fear, like, yo, get back there. Like,
Yeah.
What would be something you fear? I mean, you're 38 years old,
I mean,
right? Like,
I could give you a number. I mean, me just starting on this podcast, I could forget what I could slip and fall when I go to give a speech. I could go to deliver a message and it not be impactful. I could fail. You know, I could be judged. You know, people are always going to have an opinion of me.
Does
based
that
on
matter
what I've
to you
done.
though?
I mean, I'd love to tell you it doesn't. I think I'm getting better at it every day, but there's still pieces of me that's like, damn, why do you think that? That's not true. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
and me both, bro.
hey, man, go in my comment section. You're going to see some
Yeah.
heat.
Were you hesitant to put your story out because of fear?
I was afraid because I didn't make any traction yet, and I thought it was going to hinder me. So, like, I didn't want to be a person who, like, was just trying to establish a career in my job and be, like, shooting from the mountaintops that I'm a felon that had shot somebody. But when it got to the point where I established some credibility and people understood who I was, my work ethic, that's when I was like, okay. And when I did tell people, some people did feel that way and they didn't want nothing to do with me. Other people were like, I'm good. Like, we all have a past and we have an understanding that we change over time. So, yeah, I mean, the judgment definitely held me back for a while.
Do you have any people like in your life that keep you like on the right track and like keep the fear down and stuff like that? Like any mentors or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anyone specific that I would put in a position to say like they're the top one, but I really draw value from everybody. You know, like I learned a lot from Frank. I learned a lot from the people that I train with. Like I learned a lot from my family, even my friends. And I've said this before. I have friends that don't pursue success on the version that I believe. Like, they don't have a career. They don't have like, you know, a big following or care about social media, or they're not trying to be impactful to people, but they are trying to be a better husband, a better father, a better, you know, person. And I draw value from that. Like, people like that, they support me, and I get motivated just hearing them doing specific things for their family.
Right.
So I try to draw value from everybody and just give everybody that grace. Like, you know, we're all on the same plane. We're going to be on different levels, but I mean, we're all human beings, and like, I don't really look at like I'm better than anyone.
How do you see the next 5 years of your life?
I see them good, man.
I mean, do you have that
What do you
vision?
got?
Like, do you have anything in mind? Like, man, I want to do this. I want to own that. I want to live here.
I think really what I'm working on, what my focus is to just be impactful to people, and I think the rest is gonna come. And that's kind of been a testament to how I've been doing lately. So I definitely see like me getting into real estate more, trying to build rentals, participate in flips, and on the content creation side, I definitely feel like I'll have a brand more solidified, possibly enter into the coaching field, you know, working with people one-on-one on mindset, on change, on perspective, maybe even fitness at some point. But other than that, I just want to, you know, enjoy myself, be a good person, lead with good intentions. I know the rest is that'll all take care of itself.
Yeah. It's motivational speaking, and that's like in the works for you too.
For
You think in
sure.
the future?
Yeah. I mean, I have next Saturday, I'm speaking in front of like 300 people. Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
Do you get butterflies?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Never goes away. But it goes back to that, you know, operating in fear thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Tell them to get in back, right?
yeah, just sit down. I'm about to go do this.
And you got brand deals in the work too now because your Instagram following's going up. You're building content. You're getting more eyeballs on you. You know, eyeballs are a leverage. And how's that looking for you as far as like expanding into more of the content creator world?
Yeah, I mean, I've been creating content a year. It's been 13 months. So I'm still new to it, still learning. But I caught a blessing recently. A couple of mine went viral, hit like 13 million, 13.5 million, 1.6 million. And I built I had a good jump from that. So now I'm just under like 25K, you know, small in the grand scheme of things, but building.
Yeah, because I remember not too long ago, I think it was a couple months ago, I started following you. You were like at 12,000, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Once that viral one hit, it was like 1,000 a day. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's what's up.
And
and
then,
now I
like,
got to keep them.
Yeah, you gotta once you get that audience, you gotta keep them engaged, and that's a job in itself. Like just scheduling content, making content. Me and Tony were talking about it the other day, and you really can't miss a beat. I mean, you can, but that's what people are on your page for at this point. They're not like they don't care about pictures of you in the morning time. They care about what value are you adding.
Right, exactly. And the span is so short. So I mean, you guys know you guys are working hard. Podcasts, all platforms. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, I always try to post to all platforms because you never know. You know, one person might see one thing in one spot, even if your following is low, could change everything.
This is another great story. It's just for anyone that it goes back to like almost keys of success. It's different company, right? Like you surround yourself with different people, or you are your company on a different company, but you are like your group of individuals you hang around with. It's like the same thing we talked about. Like there's a lot of key components that all align. Mindset, it's like the same thing. Structure, and your story is a great story, man. Like all the things that you're doing and where you're going at 38. When did he get out of jail?
27. Yeah, so I just in January 30th was 11 years.
11 years, wow.
Yeah.
And you stay consistent on getting better.
I'm definitely trying. That's for
Ah.
sure. Yeah, we're working hard.
He basically had the same job for the last 10 years. So I mean,
Nah, he worked at the same company, not the same job.
yeah, right,
different
exactly.
levels.
Thank you.
Job
Yeah,
change.
exactly. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yep.
That's got to be tough.
Yeah,
To like
I mean,
have hope, you know what I mean? To have that much faith in yourself of, you know, basically, if you work for another company, you're like, what else can I do here? Like, is there a next level, a next level, a next level? And you just been, like you said, that fear to master the next level.
right.
I'm sure probably when you want to bring your idea to corporate, you were probably scared. I'm probably just going
Dude, I was sweating bullets. Like I rehearsed like crazy at home. You know, put the suit on, tried to practice because my speech professor was like, "This is a performance." You know, he wanted me to treat it like that. Like he would tell me, "Do it again. Don't move your hands like that. You know, stand this way. Don't lean this way." And it started to, you know, you fine tune it into something that can be more impactful. And that's what I'm working on doing with my story, because I can have a good story, but if I don't deliver in the right way to the right audience, you know, change the dynamic.
Well, here's your time to shine, right? Any last words, anything to say to the people, somebody that's been through adversity, someone that's trying to climb the ladder at their job, somebody that's trying to, you know, go on this path of success and develop a better mindset. You know, you're going to be a coach hopefully soon. So what advice do you have to the people out there?
I would say for the people out there who are trying to just work their way through is everything starts with information and everything starts with accountability. So you need to definitely believe in yourself and what you're doing, but no matter how much you get, you know, written off by other people, can guarantee you, no matter where you are, the story is far from over because you are the one that holds the pen to that story. So, you know, be responsible with the way you write.
And I appreciate you. Thank you. This is a great interview.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank
Great
you,
story,
guys.
man.
Thank you.
Sure.
Everybody tune in for the next episode. Thanks, Josh, again, and see you soon.